The Rip City Drive.
Doc, good evening, my friend. Thanks for coming back on the show.
Well, great to be on with you, and I think you might understand why, because I think it's going to be a while before we're going to come down from the experience at Reeser on Saturday, and it's been fun to relive, talk about, and still try to let it all sink in. I've been kind of going over in my mind and looking at the play-by-play sheet. It's still pretty amazing to me how it all unfolded. I don't know what you guys were thinking, but, I mean, to see what the Beavers did in about an 11 or 12-minute stretch, not throwing the ball, running it 13 consecutive times to take a lead, I've never quite seen anything like that, guys.
Mike, I listened to the postgame show quite a bit, and I don't often hear you at a loss for words. I thought there were times during the postgame where you were so stunned by the outcome, you and Jim Wilson, both of you, you didn't quite know what to say about that one. Am I correct?
No, we didn't. No, you're absolutely right, Dwight. I mean, there are times, people throw the phrase or words defy, what we just saw defies description. I was thinking a little bit about the late, great Jack Buck, who summed up a moment on the Gibson homer on the radio call in '88. I can't believe what I just saw.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was one moment in a pitch and in a sequence that got Jack to that point, far be it for me to put myself in his august company. But in terms of trying to come up with the words to try to explain what we just saw, and I think I heard, Dwight, some national guys, too, even Fleming and Gilmore on their broadcast and elsewhere. What just happened? What happened?
Yeah.
And now that you go back and look at it all, it's explicable from the standpoint of what the Beavers did and how they earned their way back, and some really odd decisions and some things that Oregon did to make it possible. Certainly, it is explicable when you kind of go back and unpack it and unwind it. But in those moments, in those amazing 11 or 12 minutes when 31-10 and 34-17 became a Beaver win, something I've never seen, and it was difficult to come up with the words. You're right.
Hey, Mike, I know you had a hard time in the postgame trying to decide what the play of the game was, but now that you've had a chance to think about it, what do you think was the key turning point in that second half? Which play?
Well, it's interesting, Chad, because on a certain level, this is going to seem really odd. I'll pick out two plays. Down 31-10 with virtually all hope gone for a win. And to that point, you were just kind of thinking, well, I hope they can slug their way back, not let it get any worse, was sort of the feeling in those moments. And I think that may even be true for the most diehard of Beaver fans who may be mad at me for even suggesting that down 31-10. I was a little doubtful, but I was. But I thought if they can score quickly, they have a chance at least with a lot of football left. And we were watching and noticing the Oregon sideline was pretty happy after that last touchdown. 31-10, there was a lot of laughing and giddiness, and even Dan Lanning, big smile, looking up at the video board. So I remember thinking, they can wipe those smiles off their face with a quick touchdown. But how do you get a quick touchdown if you have to drive the field and can't throw the ball? Well, I think the biggest play then came on the first play of that drive. Hand it to Damian Martinez, and he pops a 43-yarder. And that was the definition of something that needed to happen quickly. 3 plays after that, you're in, you score a touchdown, 4 rushes, 75 yards in a minute 49. Okay, so maybe the Martinez run, the way it was blocked, the way he got down there, he didn't carry the ball again after that. He came up with a sore knee after that play. But that made it possible to have a quick touchdown drive and to be able to do it on the ground. And I think that offensively may have been the biggest play to spur the comeback. But earlier, even before that, Trayshawn Harris, when the Beavers had that disastrous sequence of interception, and then the next time, Ben, he threw 2 complete passes, his last 2 passes of the game. He threw one, a short one, to Trayshawn Harrison. Harrison was dislodged at the ball. Oregon recovered. The defense dug in and held Oregon to a field goal in that situation. The game was getting out of hand, and it looks like it's about to be 35-10. That's tough to come back from. They held them to a field goal, 31-10. Then the defense holding Oregon to another field goal when Oregon got to the 6. and settled for a field goal to make it 34-17. Those things are kind of lost in the wild plays that occurred, the drop snap at the goal line by the punter. I know a lot of people could look to that and say, well, that a 2-yard short field, 2 plays, you're in. That may have been the biggest change. But I even give the Beavers credit for that, guys, in terms of Alex Bales, who dropped the snap, had been swarmed earlier on the punt block. So that's to the Beavers special teams credit that they at least maybe created a little doubt in the kids' mind. Like, I better get this off. I got to catch it. I better get it off because of what had happened earlier. Silas Bolden with a 49-yard kick return to give and then 15 yards tacked on for a penalty. Oregon was complicit. There's no doubt that Oregon was complicit in the Beavers' comeback. But the Beavers, when I kind of unpack it and unravel it, made some plays defensively to hold them to threes instead of touchdowns to stay within striking distance. So to answer your question, back to one play, Damian Martinez for 43 yards, and the comeback, in a sense, felt like it was on because it happened quickly on that first touchdown in the 28 straight points.
You know, Mike, we were going to ask you about a couple of things, and just since the program started, we've had an answer or two come our way. Number one was we were a little concerned that perhaps Jonathan was going to have to deal with people stealing some of his assistant coaches. And since we've gone on the air, it's been announced that Trent Bray has signed a deal through 2024 to keep him in Corvallis. Then we were going to ask you about the quarterback situation. I see a tweet. There's a nice commitment, a big-time I think 17th ranked in the country, something like that. A quarterback out of California, runner and a passer. He is real strong in his commitment to the Beavers. So Jonathan's not sitting around in front of the fireplace watching replays of that game Saturday. He's kind of been busy, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think so, Dwight. Now, that's all I'm doing, and that's all I'm going to do for the rest of the week. Sit around by the fire, keep watching the game. So good for me, yes. Watch it over and over. That's what happens when you get a win like that. That was my 50th straight rivalry game in person. I've seen 50 in a row in both stadiums. And that may be, that stands in a very small group of games for most memorable. And, I tweeted something yesterday when I saw Dennis Erickson was at the game. I put the 98, 2000, and this game kind of in their own special category. Now, in the 126 games, there have been a lot of other great ones and compelling ones and dramatic finishes. But those three, to me, are sort of stand alone in their own category. What we just saw, what Dennis accomplished in 2000, and what Jonathan and Mike Riley and Ken Simon and company did in 98 in double overtime. That was almost a sign that things are turning. And it's amazing to get back to your question, Dwight, about Jonathan not sitting around. Who is the common denominator in those three wins? It's Jonathan. It's 98, it's 2000, and now as the head coach. And what a job he's done. Just an amazing job. The staff that he's put together, I'm not sure that it's over in terms of people coming after guys on the staff.
Sure.
But he has sewn up, not sewn up, but I mean at least understood, and the administration has understood. The job Trent Bray has done is nothing short of, to me, it's nigh unto miraculous to what the Beaver defense was before he got his hands on it and where they are now. And that quarterback out of Downey is a big-time commit for the Beavs. I'm not sure he can come in and win the job right away, but he might. He'll compete for it. And the transfer portal opens up this Friday, and I'm sure Jonathan and others will be at work both looking at the portal and making sure that there isn't too much of a raid coming again for guys like Damian Martinez and others who I'm sure other programs will be going after. So Jonathan's work is he's not shutting her down. He's got a lot of things on his plate, but he's taken care of a very important part of that by extending just an absolutely brilliant coach who did one of the great coaching jobs in the country this year in Trent Bray.
We're talking with Mike Parker, voice of the Beavs here on the Rip City Drive. Now, Doc, I know you and Jim Wilson were desperately wanting a trip to El Paso for the Sun Bowl. I saw projections today with the win over Oregon that it could be the Vegas Bowl. What are you hearing on potential destinations for the Beavs now in bowl play?
I've had two experiences with El Paso, so let me say they both have been great. And they both have been Beaver wins down there. The one game in 2006 that got the Beavers to a 10th win was one of the best football games I've seen, and it was exciting. And the Beavers rallied from 14 down in the fourth, went for two, late. Evanson Bernard scores. Beavers beat Missouri 39-38. Rihanna, this little known singer, was the halftime guest. I remember. Oh yeah. I remember my kids at the game saying, "Oh yeah, we kind of like her." I said, "Well, is she famous?" And, well, sort of. So we saw her at halftime in El Paso at 06 on her meteoric rise. So that's memorable. 08. Johnny Hecker was the MVP, and the Beavers won it 3-0 over Pitt. A little less memorable than the 39-38 game 2 years before. All of this to say, guys, the El Paso experiences have been good, and if there's another one to come in the Sun Bowl and a chance to get a 10th win, that's great. I mean, it would be a fun trip. But we have done it twice, and so I would, covet a different kind of experience. That game in San Diego, I don't think is completely out of play for the Beavs either. I still think under certain circumstances, because Bulls have some latitude to pick within the framework of the standings, there may be some reciprocal interest on their part and Oregon State's part to make that work. But I do think the win has put the Beavers in a position where it's not just the Sun Bowl, and nothing wrong with the Sun Bowl, but I think there could be some other options, Vegas or perhaps the Holiday.
Mike, somebody has to ask you this, and I hate to do it, but we all have our ups and downs in this business, and you get to broadcast games like you did on Saturday, and then sometimes they don't turn out so well. Man, I was thinking about you hard last night. You get to do that game Saturday afternoon, and then you drive to Portland, you do Oregon State basketball losing to Portland State.
Mm-hmm.
What?
It was a tough one, Dwight. Yeah,
it's no offense to Portland State, but yeah.
No, but and Wayne himself said it though, Dwight. And I mean, Jace Coburn has got a good team, and Wayne said it on the postgame show twice in his postgame comments. He said they're better than we are. You don't hear that very often. A coach doesn't say that very often, but he said it twice. He said, right now, and I know that's the operative phrase in his playbook, but he said, right now, they're just better than we are. They beat us. They're better. And if you went to the game last night, and I did, it was an 8 o'clock tip at the Child Center, and I went back and forth throughout the week, guys. Thursday at Veterans Memorial Coliseum, where the Beavers threw a huge scare into Duke and had a good chance to win that game. I was proud of them. I think they left a lot of energy in that and didn't regroup quickly the next day. Florida jumped them, and then the Beavers, after a bad start, played pretty good basketball to lose 81-68. A day off Saturday for all 24 teams, with deference to the rivalry football game, and then everybody back in action yesterday. I was expecting, Wayne Tinkle was expecting, we were all expecting a much more competitive and better game than what we ended up seeing. But Portland State, Dwight, I think they're pretty good. I think they're going to be a factor in the Big Sky. They've got some real athletic ability, some shooters, some toughness on defense, quickness. That's a good team. Now, Wayne said the list is pretty long for he and the guys to look themselves in the mirror and go to work. Conference play starts Thursday night at Gill against Washington. So they've got a lot of things to work on, and that's to Portland State's credit for making that list a pretty long one. And it was an impressive performance by the Vikings last night.
Well, Doc, congratulations on the victory, my friend. It's great to have you on the show. And now we look forward to seeing where you're going to land this weekend with the bowl game.
Chad, one question for you. Now, I did you watch it all from start to finish? I can't quite. Well, where were you with respect to other duties? And did you have any moment of doubt? I know people are a little mad at me. Mike, you sounded despondent late in the third quarter, down 31-10. And I feel like saying, well, how am I supposed to sound at that point? Well, hey, Oregon just went up 31-10. Hope you're all having a great Saturday. I couldn't quite do that.
No.
What was your mindset?
No, my mindset, I'll tell you exactly what I thought.
Okay.
I was at Spirit Mountain hosting a Civil War / Oregon State Oregon rivalry game party. It was nice. And that's one of the things I respect about you, because I can tune in and listen to your tone. I'm like, oh, they must be getting hammered right now. Because that's the way Doc sounds. But I thought the killer was right there before the half where they had the ball there at about the 5. They got screwed by the officials on a bad spot. Right. They failed to convert on 4th down. Then Oregon drives 95 yards for the touchdown. Yeah. I thought, okay, that flipped the game. They're not going to recover from that. And then they came out and started pouring it on in the 3rd. And I was like, I was right. This sucks. And then the unthinkable happened. And I look back to those plays with the big run you talked about to set up the touchdown. They get the big kick return and the personal foul that gave them good field position again. They get the big stop on, 4th down. They get the ball back on a short field. And it just was a snowball, this avalanche of Beavers, touchdowns. I couldn't believe it. I was stunned.
Mike, by the way.
And I was too, and I know you got to go, but I was a little happier then as the 4th quarter played out. Dwight, what were you going to say?
No, Mike, I got to tell you, though, Chad's the only one here in this building. He picked the Beavers to win that game on
He's
Friday.
A good man.
On Friday, he did.
I
did not.
I mean, think about that, Chad. Doc. If I would have told you before the game and said, hey, Branson's going to throw for 60 yards, and the Beavers are going to lose the turnover battle 3-zip, and I would have said, but they're going to win. You would have thought I was insane.
I would have.
You are insane.
But it's nice to, you are. So am I. It's good to feel insane today together with you, Chad. Hey, guys, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
The great Mike Parker here on the Rib City Drive. Love talking with him.
He's the best.
He is the best.
Yeah, he really is.